Hi, and welcome to Tapped into Hudson. I'm Steve Lenox, and I'm the publisher of Tap into Bayonne, Tap into Jersey City, and Tap into Hoboken. Before we get into our show today, I want to make mention of a good friend of Tap into Jersey City, Richard McCormick. Richard passed away a couple weeks ago suddenly at age 62 years old. For those of you that don't know Richard, he was everywhere in Jersey City. He was taking pictures. You see many of his photos on the pages at Tap into Jersey City. He loved his city. He loved being on the planning board. He was such a great community member, an advocate for the West Side, and an advocate for everything Jersey City. Richard McCormick, we will miss you. We miss you already. Don't know where you are, but we hope you're looking down. Richard was always so good. He was the first person to comment after every single one of these shows. Let me know when I did a good job, and sometimes he let me know when I wasn't doing such a good job. But Richard kept us honest. Richard, we miss you. We love you. We hope to see you again. With that, we're going to get into our show, and we have two very special guests today. We have the library directors for the Hoboken Public Library, Jennie Poo. Jennie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And JP Porcaro, the Bayonne Library. Thank you for joining us, JP. You've been on before. We did it remotely last time. So it's good to see you. You're kind of blending into the curtain behind you with the blue velvet, but I love it. So what I want to start with, I think I've said this to both of you. I have the pleasure of knowing Corey Fleming, who's the director of the library in Paterson, New Jersey, another great library. And I never forget Corey getting up on the library steps one day at a press conference and using the quote that every great city has a great library. I don't know if this is his quote or not, but he took credit for it that day, and I quote, and that was fine. Jennie, what does that mean to you?
That means, I think, a city that values its library says a lot about its own investment in citizens. The libraries, our public libraries, are the last bastions of democracy. Free, open access institutions, all are welcome. So I think, I personally think, and I'm biased, the libraries are the crown jewels of our city and should be treated as such.
JP?
First of all, I love Corey over at Paterson. He's a really great guy. As I've kind of transitioned into this role, I've kept in touch with him a lot, just asking him for advice. So he's a really cool guy. And I think in Bayonne, sort of what the library is, besides being this beautiful building, and Hoboken's that way too, this sort of beautiful old building. We're a Carnegie building, which is very cool. We're one of the original Carnegie buildings. And that kind of, we also inside the building literally host a lot of the history. And I don't know if your viewers are like Bayonne people, but I found that a lot of Bayonne people, they love the Bayonne history. They love their Bayonne history. And so what the library, at least in Bayonne does for all of them is just kind of hold that history there.
And that's a great point you make, holding the history. We talk a lot in both cities, right? We talk about old Hoboken, new Hoboken. Bayonne, we're starting to talk about the same thing, right? With all the development that's coming, maybe a couple years behind Hoboken, but still a lot of change coming to the city. Yeah, both of your libraries, I know both of you work really hard to attract everybody into the library. It's not just the old, it's not just the new, it's everyone. Talk about that a little bit. Why is that so important in Hoboken?
Oh, it's so important. If you looked at the last census data, both of our towns saw growth in our cities. Hoboken went from 50,000 to 60,000 in the last census count. It's so important because Hoboken's always been a very diverse city, such as Bayonne, and libraries are always innovating, and it ensures that we are continually making sure that our services and programs are relevant to all of Hobokenites, including, as we call them, new Americans, people who just arrived. I was speaking with an owner of a new bodega that just opened a month ago, and a 60-year-old man from Uganda. And I'm like, this is a Hobokenite. This is someone, it was so cool. This is someone that the library, this is a member of our community, of our library. So that's what it means to me.
JP, you must be seeing the same thing in Bayonne. Again, it's so diverse, and you look around the streets of Bayonne, and it's a lot different than it used to be.
We're up to 70K. Yeah, we're up to 70K. And Jennie and I have, she's just started. I just started, basically. We've chatted a lot about, what services we're bringing in, all of that. And now that we're finally really like reopening after COVID, that's one of the first things we've been doing is our ESL classes and all of that. I think what the public library does versus, like, let's say the school district or any of the services out of City Hall, other municipal funded stuff, is that we fill a lot of gaps. Maybe the stuff that the rest of the city doesn't do, can't do, or for whatever reason, that's kind of what the library is there for. So I'll get a lot of messages from folks in the city, books, and we do a lot of great book stuff, of course. But we're also filling a lot of gaps. New Americans, that's it didn't even occur to me. I mean, I guess I've been in libraries long enough that it's like, it just feels like something that we do,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
but it definitely is important. It definitely is important. Yeah. And so we've been seeing a ton of ESL folks, folks. And, you know, there's still also, besides the ESL stuff and, you know, all of the diversity and all of that, there's the students and students need to get their resources from somewhere. So I've worked with the school district kind of often and they've been really great. And so, you know, we're kind of filling a lot of holes and a lot of roles there.
One example of that, you said students, digital divide.
Yeah,
During COVID lockdown, a lot of our students, our most needy students, didn't have access to broadband, which has become like a fourth utility. So the library did, I'm sure Bayonne did as well, as we, you know, purchased hotspots, we lent out laptops, we extended our Wi-Fi in the park, we created a cyber cafe. These are all non-traditional services that are really kind of become a core service that a public library offers to the community.
Jennie, that's great. And as we take a break here in this first segment, that's what I want to come back and talk about more, the fact that the libraries are more than just books. We hear that over and over. And I know from being at both libraries and being in the Patterson Library, it's something you really take to heart. So with that, we'll be back in just a couple of minutes with JP and Jennie. Thank you.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
Introducing the all-new Ford Maverick. A truck for people who do stuff. And people who make stuff. People like Gabrielle Union.
I make this look good, don't I?
Who haul whatever they want to wherever they want. Like wood to build things made of wood with. And friends to get weird with. It's for long trips that the standard hybrid engine with a targeted EPA estimated city fuel economy rating of 40 miles per gallon helps with. That an 8-inch touchscreen connects with. And any trip that this interior makes more comfortable. But we'll let Gabrielle tell you all about it.
Or I could just tell them it's a Ford truck that starts at less than $20,000 MSRP.
Yep, that works too. The all-new Ford Maverick, built to defy expectations.
Hi, and welcome back to Tapped into Hudson. I'm Steve Lenox. I'm joined today by Jennie Poo of the Hoboken Public Library and JP Porcaro from the Bayonne Public Library. JP, when you came on my show last time, well, we did this remotely, if you remember, because we couldn't be in the studio. We were just in the beginning of COVID, and you were learning to adapt very quickly to the sort of services a library can provide. Why don't you talk about that?
Well, we had, I mean, first of all, and I'm glad, this is why I'm glad that Jennie and I are on together. The library community in New Jersey did a really good job as a whole of adapting immediately. And luckily, we're all pretty connected. That's why Jennie and I go back now for a long time at this point. And so we were all riffing off of each other. And one thing that we all kind of were doing, Bayonne included, was we were just doing tons of online programs. You can go on our Facebook, you can click a link on our website, and I read probably 40 novels personally on the library site. It was so fun. It was so fun. And we had a good amount of viewers. And now that we're kind of open, and we had just put throughout our 4 floors of the library, well, really 1, 2, 3 floors of the library, we finally have Wi-Fi all over the building, every single room. Right. Now you still got a lot of folks online. So now we've got the folks coming in to do their online classes right in the library. Every night we've got folks doing their online classes and all of that. And so just offering the Wi-Fi as we're more open now is still sort of helping through the pandemic. And so that's like kind of was a nice big way that we all stayed connected in Bayonne, was like through the libraries.
It was great to watch FaceTime Live, to watch your Facebook Live without watching you read a book.
So fun.
Yeah. And Jennie, at the Hoboken Library, you mentioned the Wi-Fi, and I've noticed the other day you extended it out to Church Square Park. And that was wonderful. I sat out there and I worked in the December warmth that existed last week. What made you decide to expand it that far?
Well, first of all, I can't take credit for that. It was my wonderful staff who really had the foresight to see the number of folks coming in to the library really who needed internet access. So we expanded that really as a trial, as an experiment, and became really successful. Then we launched the Cyber Cafe, as you remember, when the weather is nice, we put out some tables. What is it, BY, bring your own device. But we also had devices to loan out. One thing that we did, JP talked about extending Wi-Fi, was for our services, of course we do online programs. We also have these, it sounds old-fashioned, these really cool 24/7 book checkout lockers. I don't know if you've seen them.
I have seen them.
They're
That was gonna be my next
enormously
question.
popular. It's 24/7. We have 2 of them, one at the Grand Street branch, one at the main library, and we're adding more. We're finding locations. So yeah, I think, and the programs, one thing that we brought back last year was during the real deep pandemic, when everyone was locked down, the library did some caroling outside. And that alone, that human element, people were coming on crying because, you couldn't see anyone, and we were socially distanced and we sang, so we're bringing that back too. We do a ton of outdoor programming, as you know, our story times, which are like rock concerts because they're so popular. But we've started to bring back indoor events as well, indoor programming as, we move into this next stage of a post-pandemic normal.
And what drives the programming? How do you decide what new initiative you're going to push forward?
Oh boy, all sources. Our community members, what they ask for, sometimes our own staff. I have a great idea, let's go roll with it. Because we serve all of our community members, we have such a wide variety of programs, from baby yoga to all the way to adult watercolor painting, to book talks, of course. So it comes from all sources. It's really community driven.
That's what, besides being community driven, that's what I love about librarians too, though, is because what a librarian does is keep their eyes on the community, so as much as it's community driven, that doesn't mean you see this elsewhere in other community groups, so there's the community, but then there's also the librarians that are like tapped into the community.
I like that. It's funny that you mentioned that, JP. We're in the middle at Tap into Hoboken doing a best bartender contest. When we think about bartenders as teachers, as counselors, as friends, as social workers, it sounds like librarians are very much the same, aren't they, in some ways?
Yeah. It's very similar. I actually used to say they were a lot like a DJ, but you're right. They're actually also a lot like a bartender. They also deal with, some of the folks after hours like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's all sort of in a day's work.
And how do you prepare the staff for that? Because I've been in the library several times, and I come in and I see the teenagers, I see the younger kids with the moms, I see some older folks, you see the diversity in socioeconomics, you can tell that immediately. How does the staff prepare for, dealing with all these different people?
We do a lot of professional development. We rely on each other. Librarians and library folks in general tend to be a rather self-reliant bunch as well, right? I think we learn from each other. I think it's, especially during the pandemic when we all had to suddenly learn how to produce videos online, that was a real steep learning curve. I think it's a variety of ways that we
and I think
enrich. And within the library community, of course.
Yeah, just the staff caring about the library keeps your sort of mind open, right? And so once you really care about the library and why it's there and this is all the staff, not just the librarians, the staff of the library, that's a really great way to prepare, because you're there understanding that I'm here, what I'm doing is important, and then what comes back to you is you can already sort of you're already halfway there.
I can say I've definitely noticed that. Again, I keep going back to the Hoboken Library. I've noticed that you walk in, the front desk staff, they're wonderful.
Yeah, they do.
The people sweeping are wonderful.
Yeah.
The security guard sitting up on the second floor, always a smile. It's just a welcoming place to walk into. We're going to take another break.
Okay.
We're going to come back for another segment. And I really, really want to talk about how the libraries have transitioned from being just about books to about so much more. We'll be right back with JP Porcaro and Jennie Poo.
Panapinto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintodevelopment.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Hi, and welcome back to Tapped into Hudson. I'm Steve Lenox. I'm the publisher of Tapped into Bayonne, Tapped into Hoboken, Tapped into Jersey City. We're having a great conversation today with Jennie of the Hoboken Public Library, and JP Porcaro from the Bayonne Public Library. Thank you both for joining us. So really what I want to get to is this idea that, I remember growing up and you went to the library for books, and I'm sure the librarians did so much more than that. That was all I ever recognized. But you've gone from the books to the book drops to the programming, to the introduction of technology. How has this transition sort of occurred over the years?
Libraries, I'm sure JP can speak about this as well.
Yeah.
We've had to continue to innovate as technology morphs and changes. And you're right, libraries have always been more than books. People come to libraries as community hubs, as gathering centers, watering holes, right? You don't require admission, you just come right in. You can talk to a librarian and a library staff. The circus people can greet you. I think increasingly, I'll reference what JP said earlier about filling the gaps. We're seeing a lot more use of libraries filling social services. We have a social work intern who's fabulous. We're doing a lot more community engagement and outreach to especially reach those constituents who maybe not have traditionally visited a library. More and more partnerships. One partnership I'm really excited about is we're partnering with the Flow Initiative, which started in Jersey City. And this is about providing free period products to those who need it. Brilliant, simple concept. And we're going to provide it in our bathrooms, no questions asked. If you need it, just take it. There's just one of the ways, and we are certainly not the first library to do that, but just one of the many social services that we're providing, because I believe ultimately libraries, we're here about enacting, in some ways, social justice.
Yeah.
And we do that in these ways, providing free period products. Hoboken Library just went fine free, which I'm so excited about, on Hoboken items. And this is about removing barriers. We had fines. I fully confess, I was one of those who always had a fine on a book, and I was so embarrassed to bring it back. So we're removing sort of that shame factor, because really, we are free and open to all. So let's be true to that.
Right.
The father of library science, right?
Oh, yes.
Ranganathan. He's one of the father of library science from India. And one of his, he's got 5 points. One of them is like, the library's a growing organism, right? I think that's like literally the phrase, right? Library's a growing organism. And so when you ask, how have you adapted, or, how are you more than books? I think it's because of the sort of the curiosity of the librarian and sort of what the librarian was taught, in our degree. We all had to get a master's degree, was to, that the library is going to grow. And so, I've grown literally as a person, grown up in the library since I was 14 years old. I've had a job in the library since I was 14 years old. That's my youngest son's age now. And I started when there was the card catalog. You'd pull out the card catalog and you'd find your book. I started when they had just put that on the computer. So you go in and now you type it in the computer. And now, listen to all the things we're talking about. It's kind of wild. And I think it's not because we had to. I think you said we had to. We didn't have to. We could have died away. But I think we did it because of because the librarians, because of the librarians and their curiosity and their care for the community and their care for learning and sort of the folks who came before us. I've had so many good mentors who were librarians also. And I'm sure even the folks that we introduce each other to, or the folks that introduce you and I, to each other. I think librarians are really good at identifying a community, building a community, caring about learning, finding those gaps, and understanding that the library should be a place of growth, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It sounds like there's amazing camaraderie between the librarians, not just you two, but the entire community. Jennie, you mentioned going fine free, and that was a great announcement to read and very exciting. And, and we think of library fines, and I think from being a kid and it being a nickel a day, and I guess maybe with inflation it's gone up. And you don't think about them being a very big fine. Of course, you always read these stories about somebody who returned a book 42 years late or whatever it was. But really, there's more to it than just the $5 to $10. Talk about that.
Really, there's actually been research done on this, by our peers, our libraries in California, that showed when libraries reverse those fines, we actually got more items returned. And what we saw, fines impacted those who needed the library the most. Right. Folks who couldn't afford to pay the $5 and therefore just assumed, well, now the library is off access to me. For us, it's, our teens are super excited because, you're a teenager. Returning a book on time may not be at the top of your priority list,
right.
And so now it doesn't have to be. It has to be about coming to the library, getting the help you need, getting the services, connecting with another fellow human being. So it was something that Hoboken Library had started during the pandemic as a trial, and it was so successful.
We're still on trial.
Yeah,
also,
we just made it
we have
permanent.
our fines paused right now.
Yeah,
so
a
we're
lot of
still in
libraries
that.
did.
Yeah,
and really, it wasn't a big source of revenue, and it really helped that the big organizations, NYPL, Brooklyn, and Queens all went fine free. It's a statement that shows that libraries, we're focused on the big picture, which is about servicing everyone.
It's really the elimination of a regressive tax, you might say, if we go back to our,
Yes.
our economics studies. JP, so you're thinking about keeping it permanent, the fine free?
Well, yeah, see, part of the problem, or not the problem, is that, so the library director, I'm in charge of kind of what goes on in the library. The board of the library gets to make these sort of policy decisions.
Right.
So I'm working with them on a bunch of stuff. I mean, the fines are one thing. Just, in general, reimagining how our budget's going to work in the future and where we can, make some changes, and that'll definitely sort of be folded into our strategic plan moving forward.
JP, that's a good segue into our final segment. We'll have a few more minutes to talk. I want to talk about the future of both libraries.
Yeah.
We'll be right
Thank
back.
you.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in one of our many high-rise towers. With amenities such as the on-site Newport Path, light rail, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams and Acme Supermarket are just outside your front door. A health and fitness center, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. Enjoy the New York skyline from our waterfront and various parks. Manhattan is just one pass stop away, or a quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Looking to visit? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. For more information, visit us at newportnj.com. Make lasting memories to cherish forever. It's incredible. It's you, Newport. Live like you want.
Good Friend Self Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer a Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Ford made their first all-electric SUV a Mustang. Rapid acceleration, reactive handling, 300-mile range. You control how it feels and how it sounds. It knows you. It dials into your preferred settings. It has an array of driver assist technology. Cameras and sensors enhance your awareness and provide you with additional control. But it's more than cutting-edge technology. It's the spirit of it. It's a Mustang.
Okay, JP, we're going to dive right back in. I'm not going to do another introduction because we have so little time to talk. What's the future of the Bayonne Library? I know you just got a grant recently and you got some major renovations coming.
Yeah, so we are going to be renovating the library. We got a huge $2 million grant. And one of what I would like to see for the future of the library is more literal access to the building. So we have this beautiful, huge building, and not all of it is being sort of utilized all the way, to as far as we can make it. With the growth of Bayonne population, the developments, the idea that we've got this huge building is great because not everyone has that type of space. So being able to sort of make a strategic plan for the future that looks at how we're using our collection, how does it work for the community, but also how does our space work for the community, and how can we really push, how much of it we're using and how much of it is giving access. I would definitely see that as a future. We've got this one room called Business and Science, right? And so you think, oh, it's going to be this great, business center. And you walk in and it's just the stacks, right? It's just stacks of books. So that's one of the places that I'm really thinking when someone walks in, I would love to make it look like more of like a business incubator, that kind of thing. And there's there's any number of also traditional services, book loaning, right? That we can relook at, maybe expand access, the things that people don't need so much anymore, maybe shrink that access, just to make it work for Bayonne as Bayonne is growing.
Sounds so exciting.
Yeah.
Jenny, I know you left a meeting with your designers back at the library.
Yes.
What's being designed?
Oh boy, well, we are knee deep, shoulder deep in a major renovation, as you are aware of our third floor. It's a $5 million renovation, historic renovation of our children's teen room, and installing a new HVAC system, which our old building needs. And that's just phase one. So we hope to complete that by next fall. What's really exciting is we turned an underused space, which was traditionally a staff room, a staff lunchroom, into a maker space and an innovation lab, something that I feel people have come to expect from libraries, but libraries were the first to pioneer this, right? This space that there are learners of all types, and it's really truly about serving experiential learners. So that's going to be on the third floor. Phase two will be the second and first floor, but there's a lot of exciting projects. We're always looking for a space uptown. Even though Hoboken's only 1 square mile, we have like 60,000 people packed in there. A parent, and I can say this as a parent, doesn't want to push a stroller from 14th Street down to 5th Street. That's a long walk. So we're looking for opportunities to find. We have a branch at Grand Street, and we have a pop-up location, the Learning Center. I'm always looking for locations, me and the board, uptown, where we're going to see the most amount of growth. Those high rises coming in, families moving in and choosing to stay in Hoboken. I mentioned lockers. We're hoping to partner with a couple of our cultural institutions to add more lockers. And really, broadly, going back to what our mission now we're seeing about closing, learning gaps and digital divide. Because of our success with expanding Wi-Fi into the park, we're being looked at as a leader in the city to ensure that everyone in Hoboken has access to broadband, working with the Housing Authority, working with our partners in the city. I think libraries are taking a real leadership role in that. So those are just some of the things that we're doing. Yeah.
And rewinding, not just the broadband stuff, but I found in Bayonne, just needing a space. I'm talking a literal physical room.
Yes.
So since I started in 2018, we've opened 4 new meeting rooms that weren't open to the public previously. And unfortunately, when COVID happened, we sort of had to close down. We finally this month have opened the rooms back up, and we've already got things on the calendar, folks calling us. I mean, just community groups that need a space to meet. I mean, just that is a huge thing. I want to say something else too. You mentioned your makerspace.
Yes.
Did you know that it was librarians, Alan and James, some of our friends in the library world, that started New Jersey Maker Day. So
I know it.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you
I
know
know
New
it.
Jersey
I
Maker
know
Day
it.
is that's a project
We won
of
grants from
librarians
that,
by librarians of librarians.
For librarians.
Well,
for communities. Yeah.
So this is great. We could talk all afternoon, all day. JP, real quick, why don't you give the library website and Facebook page?
Oh, sure. I mean, we're bayonnelibrary.org, and all of our calendars on there. And I'm pretty happy with our Facebook and our Instagram, so follow all that too.
Perfect. Jenny?
HobokenLibrary.org, same thing. You can find out all social media channels, including TikTok, may I say.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Jenny Pooh, Hoboken Library Director, JP Porcaro, Bayonne Library Director, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for making a return appearance. Again, it's so nice to be in the studio. With that, thank you so much for watching. Again, we've had a great conversation with these 2 wonderful library directors. If you haven't gotten to the Bayonne Library, haven't gotten to the Hoboken Library, please do. Most importantly, if you haven't gotten vaccinated, if you haven't gotten your booster, please do. Have a great holiday season. We'll see you next year.